Hello, it is I, Juan Jonathan, host of the End Up Like Me podcast, with my co-host, Simon, who is currently dilly-dallying across the kitchen floor. Alright, guys, we got that out of the way. I'm already out of breath, but we gotta push on and get through these announcements I have to make real fast. 1. Alright, I've recorded several videos because a Jake and Amir thing I watched where they do a lecture at some university, they're all like, hey, it's good to have 2 episodes a week, so I recorded a few, and I hate all of them, so I decided to come up with a plan. I'm going to record 1 and come up with an episode for sure on Friday, and then on Saturday, there may or may not be a bonus episode. And in that publishing time, when I say Friday and Saturday, I mean anywhere between late Friday to early Saturday, there could be an episode or 2 episodes. I'm not sure. That's where I have the most time to get things out if I haven't recorded something earlier. The next order of business, I have a Twitter, Facebook, and email. On top of all these networks that I'm using to publish my podcast. The Facebook page is End Up Like Me Podcast. The Twitter is End Up Like Me Pod with an @ sign in front of it. The email address is enduplikemepodcast@gmail.com. Now, if you have any suggestions, criticisms, I'm very new to this podcasting thing. We're only 1 episode old, so any help would be welcomed. I know sometimes I forget the negative in like a sentence, so when I mean to say I don't like eating cake, I might actually say I like eating cake, which is not the intention of the sentence. It's like the opposite. And then sometimes I finish my sentences with which I'm trying to work on. That's part of the reason why I'm not going to publish the 2 other episodes I recorded. I'm probably going to redo them later on in life when the topic isn't so fresh in my head to where it doesn't feel like I'm doing it off memory so much. And then I also know sometimes I switch my is and r's when I'm talking under pressure. I'm sorry. Grammar's hard when you're too busy thinking about the ideas flowing from your head. The last thing I want to say is I came up with a theme song. I ain't no musician. I don't know how to play none of them instruments. I can't sing. I guarantee you if I went on American Idol, I would get laughed at. I know I will. So I tried doing a rap that is equally laughable. So if you want to submit your own theme song, and I'll probably use it for a while, maybe I'll do that thing where it's a new theme song per episode. I'm not sure. I don't know. But if you want to submit one, Simon, okay. I gotta get my little duper. But before I close, start the episode, if you have any submission ideas, send them to me. I'll give you credit. Nothing looks like, even if the podcast isn't too great, but people like the intro song, then that's still views for you. So 45 videos on that first episode could be 45 views on whatever your singing or music network is. Sorry for speaking so fast. I'm trying to make this short so I can get into the episode. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Are you ready? Are you sure? Okay. This is the End Up Like Me podcast. The stories are true about my past. Talking to me, oh, that is rad. Might even try to become your dad. Oh, you should be ashamed of yourself. Did that rhyme even flow? No? Oh, well. Oh, this is the End Up Like Me podcast. Even relive calculus class. Who wants to hear about T-ball? I even have one about my sprawl. Oh my Jerbibus. That theme song was great. It really taught me that I have my highs and I have my lows of my life. And it's actually quite comforting to know that I just had my low. Cough, cough, that theme song. That is my lowest moment. But anyways, guys, today we are going to be talking about how the world thinks I'm an idiot. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. Who knows? It's only a tale for me to tell. Did I say that right? But yeah, if you're not aware, this is the podcast where I just share my experiences for no reason whatsoever. I had a pre-intro, but I'm going to pre-intro this. Just kidding. No. We're talking about how the world thinks I am a fool. Now, I believe it's somewhat stems from my speech impediment I have. Yes, I have a speech impediment. It's not a very bad one. Like, it's not something that I have to, like, constantly battle. I don't even think about it most times. But it's, what it is my tongue is attached to the bottom of my mouth a little bit more than it should be. I believe the slang for that is tongue-tied. Like, I'm quite literally tongue-tied. So I can't even stick my tongue out of my mouth, like, all the way. So back when I went to kindergarten, now I went to kindergarten twice. They didn't think I was ready enough for the first time. And part of me likes to believe it's because of my inability to speak clearly. Like, as an adult, I have to enunciate. I had to practice a little bit because I did theater, and I didn't realize I didn't enunciate well enough, so the theater teacher really drove that home. But so I remember in kindergarten class, I would have to, so there was like a part where they had the kids do computer stuff maybe computer stuff. I can't quite remember at all. I remember really wanting to do what the class was about to do, and every time they would pull me out of class and I had to go to like this speech session with a bunch of other kids, and we had to play a board game. I don't remember quite what we did. I remember we had to play a board game and all the pieces were turtles. And I thought it was pretty cool. I always wanted the sea turtle because they can swim and stuff. And I thought that was the dopest of pieces. But it was basically like time for us to speak to the other children, I guess, while we're playing the game and really hone in on our enunciation, maybe. I really don't remember. I was quite confused. There was tons of times where I had to meet up with some doctor. I'm guessing now he was probably, they were probably therapists or whatnot, because let's just say I didn't pass that year of kindergarten, and they sent me to go to kindergarten again at a different school that was on a military fort. It was a Fort Bragg. It was like a school there. I think we were like the Clovers was the school mascot. I don't remember. It doesn't even matter. Doesn't even freaking matter, dude. Someplace in North Carolina. Where I took kindergarten again. But this time, they gave me like a miracle pill, which is called Ritalin, for any of you people that don't know what that is. It's basically like Adderall. It's a drug that kind of calmed down the ADHD and ADD group. Now, let me get comfortable. There's quite a few people that don't believe ADD or ADHD is a thing. I'm not going to get into that. Well, maybe I will a little bit. So basically what happened is when basically doctors thought every kid that couldn't focus or was having trouble focusing or was energetic, they thought they labeled them as ADD, ADHD, just gave them pills and called it that. Even if they weren't. I sincerely believe that happened. I'm not going to say if I'm the case with that, but I think I have some form of it. Like, I actually have problems with attention, but that's neither here nor there. So anyways, they're giving me Ritalin and stuff ever since I've been 5, and I've been taking it since I've graduated high school, like, so that's like a good decade at least of just taking pills. Every day. Didn't take it in the summers, guys. Didn't take it in the summers. I'm not going to school in the summer. It was only a pill that my parents used to help me focus. And it didn't quite work very well. I was still having trouble in school. In that first year of the second year of kindergarten, the teacher had to fill out this, like, basically it was like a progress report weekly. And my parents would get it to see how well I'm doing. Because they were more worried about my education because I already failed kindergarten once and they didn't think I was very bright. I wasn't doing so well that second year. So it was basically feedback from my parents. Yeah. I don't really like to tell people how I had to take kindergarten twice, because I'm a little embarrassed that, like, because when I went to school, that made me a little bit older than the rest of the kids, and I didn't realize how much of an advantage age was when it came to athletics and intelligence. Not saying I had an advantage, it kind of put me at a normal playing field, because I would agree I'm a little slower. But anyways, a few years go by, it's now the third grade, and my grades are improving. I'm still like stupid. I am, so in third grade, that's one of those grades where you're in a desk and you have your own desk. It's not like a bunch of kids sitting on the floor. You're doing homework. You're writing, you're doing your math, I think multiplication tables and stuff. But even in those conditions, I would play with toys on my desk in the middle of my teacher giving a lecture, just vocally going bam, boom, shoo, playing with toys on my desk. Like, nothing even bothered me. And it's not because I was trying to be a bad student. It's just because I wanted to play. And then I remember getting in trouble. So my solution was, oh, she's upset because I'm making noise. I'm going to stop making these noises, and I'm going to continue playing. Which is very concerning for the teacher. That's not a good sign. This kid isn't learning. He isn't doing anything. When she would tell stories, I would scoop my chair up to the front of the class and sit in the front while everyone else was sitting at their desk. Like a weirdo that I was. I was a pretty dopey little boy. So there's a little concern there. And then at this school, they would have us when we would read books, we would take tests right after we read them. The test or comprehension of said books. And it wasn't like they were like, okay, this whole class, you guys are all going to read Beowulf or something. Well, not in the third grade. I don't know. That's not a third grade book, but or an epic poem, I should say. That's not a third grade epic poem. It would be like there'd be recess, and then I think before recess or after recess, there'd be like this reading time where you just pick any book off the bookshelf. You'd read it, and when you were done, you would take a test on it in the computer, and then class would start up. That's if you finished the book during that class period. Most books you'd read probably over a few course. It was just at your own pace, reading leisure. And I didn't read a single freaking book ever in that third grade class. I might have read one, but I have no memory. I remember knowing that I didn't do it because my little brother, who was in the grade below me, since I failed kindergarten, 2-year difference, 1 grade difference. Yeah, that kind of embarrassed me when I was a kid. But anyways, he had all these like points. I think they were called AR points. Accelerated reading program. I don't know. It was something like that. And then you get these dog tags. And my little brother had so many of them, and I just had none. I would use AR time to write comics. And I remember getting caught by my teacher. And so instead of doodling my comics on top of the desk, I would slide my comic into the desk where all your books and pencils would go, and then I would sketch it in there. And another thing I did in the third grade, thinking about it right now because I just remembered, is I would pull staples out of the carpet on the floor, and I would keep them in my desk. And then when I got bored in class, I'd use those to scrape the plaque off my teeth if I didn't brush my teeth that day for whatever reason. And let the record hold that I've never had a cavity, so it's not like this was a common thing. My mouth is clean, all right? I brush all day, every day. You know what I'm saying. Sorry, I get self-conscious sometimes. It's kind of like John Gabris on High and Mighty. Every time he does like sheesh. What was I thought about it earlier. He always points out things that I can tell that are things he might be insecure of, so he'll point it out so other people can't point it out for him. Now I'm coming up with no examples. That's the story of my life. I'll say something and then I'll instantly forget every example I've had. But maybe I'll think about that later. I don't know. Middle of podcast, just interrupt what I'm saying. Anyways, so I'm the kid that picks plaque out of my teeth with staples that are just stuck in the carpet. So basically, the teacher's like, okay, she talks to her boss or whoever she talks to about this kind of stuff and says, I don't think, Jonathan is learning at the same pace as others. He's not paying attention in class. He's doing all this. She was a nice teacher. She was a very nice teacher. So I think this was straight up concern that she had for me. It wasn't like, oh, I can't deal teaching with this kid. He's so dumb. Maybe that was, but she was very sweet, very nice. Well, maybe she was like that to me because I was in the 3rd grade. You're not going to be like cruel to a kid. Well, I guess some teachers would be. But anyways, so the school wanted to put me in like the special needs classes, like the short bus type stuff. And maybe I belong there, maybe I don't. But my parents they highly disagreed on that option. And of course, no parent they don't want to admit that their child may be stupid. I'm not saying I'm stupid, but I just know that in other circumstances where a child may need to be not stupid, that's a poor choice of words, but not able to operate on a normal level. So they basically they fought it, and the school. Sorry, now I'm stuttering. I can't blame my tongue tidiness on that, can I? Anyways, so the school basically tested me. They wanted to test me so that they could. I don't know if maybe my parents were on it. I should have talked to them about this before I started. Oh, well. So they basically had me take a test. And I remember there was this guy. I remember one part of the test. I don't remember the rest. But there's this one part I remember where they had, this guy had a bunch of like note cards. And on the note cards, there were images of things. And I remember he was asking me if I knew what these things were. Like, I remember one of them being a thermostat and thinking to myself, who doesn't know what a thermostat is? That is, like, are you serious? And the second one was like a fire hydrant. I don't know if they got any more difficult than that, but I'm like, yeah, of course I know this. This is easy. And apparently I did very well. I know there was something besides note cards. I know there's like some sort of written test that I also had to do. Like, maybe not written. I remember there being pencil and paper, so it wasn't just like these dumb note card questions. And they're like, oh, actually your kid's really smart. We want to put him in advanced classes. And my parents are like, what? And I'm like, yeah. Well, I don't know. I wasn't there for the conversation. I was in the 3rd grade. I didn't even know that they were testing me to put me into stupid classes. So, oh, and by the way, this episode isn't about me saying, oh, actually, it turns out I'm really smart by the end of this 3rd grade story. Nope, the dumbness is a reoccurring thing throughout this, so bear with me. So, the school board has me take like an IQ test, and it's a different guy this time, and I don't know I'm being tested on IQ. All I know is they keep on calling me out of class. Like, this is like the 2nd instance. I'm like, huh, that's weird. Did I forget to take my Ritalin during lunch? Because that was what I was supposed to do. And so I entered this room, and there's this guy. He had like this it was like this grid that was gridded out with triangles, and then he had like these triangle pieces. Like, it was different because some of the pieces were like several triangles, but they were outlined as I don't remember. I just remember triangles in a grid, and he asked me to put the triangles in the right spot onto the grid as fast as I can. And I remember not doing so well on that. And then there was a few other things he had me do. I don't know. That's not the point. The point isn't to talk about these tests. And so it turns out my IQ was like 128. And what I needed to get into the giftedly talented classes was like a 132. So I'm somewhere between above average and normal being 100. So I'm not smart. I'm not that smart. I'm slightly above average is what I'd say. If 132 is above average, I'm slightly above average. Not above average. Well, yeah, well, technically, okay, sorry, I'm not trying to get into this. I know there's so many people out there like, oh, my IQ is 150, and the other one's like, oh, my IQ is 170, and the IQ level of a genius, I think, is 180, so just think of a genius, and then take 58 points off. Wait, no, please tell me I did that right. Oh, no, 52 points off. This is embarrassing. See, he's not a genius. People are going to be calling me out for this. I'm not saying I'm smart. All right. So they're like, oh, you must be really smart. And then, but my grades continued to be flat. And this went on for a while, where they would have small hopes for me, because in 4th grade, same school with that AR rating, I didn't do any books. And then I remember reading Big Friendly Giant. And then the next book I read after that was like Eragon, which is a 400-page book about like a dragon and her rider. It's actually one of my favorite tales as a kid, because that was like the one book I read. I didn't read a lot of books. I would pretend to read books. I think I actually read The Big Friendly Giant. That was one that I actually read, and Eragon for that year. And so that they already given up on if I'm smart or not. 5th grade happens. I'm in a different state. 6th grade. So 6th grade is where this whole intelligence. So basically, my mom had me switch schools to a smaller school, to where it was like you only had one grade, one class per grade. So there was only one 6th grade class, and the school was basically designed so if you're in like the 5th grade, but you could do math better than 5th graders, you could go into the 6th grade class, and 6th grade was the highest class you had. So I was in the 6th grade. And so basically, if you were a little bit smarter, they would have you go to the art classroom. I just knocked the table, which was it was basically like 7th grade curriculum taught by an art teacher. Which, when you think about it, it's not that hard. It's not. She probably had an art degree or a teaching degree and some sort of like. It's not like she failed 7th grade math or English or whatever. So it's not like. I don't know. What am I even saying? Am I saying if you have an art degree you can't do basic math? No, I'm sorry. That's not where I'm going with this. I'm just trying to say that she was qualified. I shouldn't even have to say that. Sorry. Just ignorance pouring, just fuming out of my mouth. I'm trying not to edit these podcasts because I feel like that's just untrue. So I'm going to keep this part in. Call it a what do you call it? A Schwarzenegger slip? Just kidding. I know that's a joke. A Schrodinger. I think I said that right. Anyways, so what would happen is at the beginning of that school year, they would have you take like a placement test for math, English, and I think that was it. Like history, you didn't go up a certain class because it's not like, oh, you're smarter than history. Okay, you don't have to learn about the Romans type thing. That wouldn't make any sense. Actually, but moving though, I don't think I ever learned about the Roman Empire or ancient Greece. I think I somehow missed that because I would move states all the time. And so I know something about the Seminole Wars, but I had to teach myself that Greece back in ancient times were a bunch of just cities that weren't unified. They weren't one thing. I didn't know that until like a year and a half ago. I know it's embarrassing. Anyways, but yeah, I knew about the Florida Seminole Wars. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so they did a placement test, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, your kid, he I don't know what it is about him, but on these reading tests, he's just doing great. So we're gonna put him in 7th grade class." My parents are like, "Oh, great." And I think they're forgetting about my parents at least. I think they're forgetting about how I've only read like so many books, like actually read start to finish without losing interest. I probably started a ton of books. It's not like my reading skills were lacking. I just didn't like to finish books. And I remember the class started off with the lesson was basically over this book, and I can't remember what the book's called, but I think it was like the story about how a Saint Bernard joins a wolf pack, or maybe I'm getting so mixed up and when I lived in Alaska, the teachers always picked books that were about the wilderness and some sort of dog, and there was a wolf. I think there's another one where this guy had like a duck falcon or something. I don't know. It was confusing. It was a confusing time in the literature world for me because everything was about freaking the cold, snow, and wilderness. But and I remember reading half of the first chapter and just never touching the book again. And I would attempt to take these tests or do discussions about this book without reading it. And finally the teacher's like, hold up, nope, this kid's an idiot. Because I don't even know if they did like bothered to think about how I'm not just, well, maybe that's why they put me down, is because they realized I wasn't putting in any effort into reading the book. Is they're like, okay, nope, just put him back down into 6th grade reading, fine. And I remember my parents being really disappointed because this was like one of those first few moments in my life, besides that like test, that I was showing like promise and at being somewhat intelligent, and then went back down. I'm not saying they were visually disappointed. I can imagine that's how it was felt. Especially since my little brother, he was really smart and stuff and gifted at this kind of stuff. But anyways, so 6th grade's coming to a wind down, and there's a state exam for like math. And so this is like this going to be this crazy sine wave of high lows here in the next few minutes, because I'm at minute 21 and I'm not even done with this 6th grade yet. So there's a state exam for math, and guess who freaking got a perfect on it? This guy with the most interesting story in the world about how I wasn't doing so well in the class, and I somehow scored a perfect in math. And my teacher is like, woohoo, yeah, you're so great, Jonathan boy. But she was also the same teacher. Not that I mentioned it already, but she also thought that I wasn't going to be very smart because of who I was hanging out with in the class. And the fact that I probably wasn't doing so well in my other classes, because I can tell you, I probably didn't do so well. I probably didn't continue to do well in English. Math has always been my thing that I've been kind of good at, so just because I did well in this math test, she probably did not think of me highly because of my grades in the other subjects that she was also teaching. But anyways, so we move to the state of Virginia, and in the area, it's like DC area, and it's one of those areas that has really high educational standards. So I think the high school I ended up going to later on in life in Virginia was like top 120 in the nation. Another high school that I could walk to, and this is a public school, it was number 1 in the nation, like for schools in all of the United States. Just in case you don't know what the word nation means, all of the United States, it was number 1. It's just all the schools were like top tier, like educational facilities. So they're really like hardcore when it comes to education. And I just moved from Alaska. I don't think Alaska is known for their education. I'm sorry, Alaska, but your population is low. And it's kind of dreary. I don't know why any sane person would want to live there. But anyways, so they're like, oh, this boy, perfect score in math. Let's put him in advanced math for 7th graders. And 7th grade, that's the start of middle school. So that's that first time where you have a different teacher for every subject. So basically, I'm in this math class, and I remember seeing timelines and whatever, like there's a, what do you call it? I'm making hand signs you guys can't see, but there's like so in short, it was a bunch of words that I knew and things I kind of knew of, but I didn't really get it. And this teacher, I thought she would look like the what's the witch from Narnia? If you guys seen the Narnia movie, she has like those black eyes, that narrow white face. This is what my teacher looked like. And she was saying how, quote to my parents, I don't know how he got in this class, but he doesn't belong here. He probably needs to go back to like not even normal math, like math underneath normal math. And I don't know if it's because that was like my first period class and I was kind of like sleeping. Whenever the class is the start of my day, it doesn't seem like I'm very successful in it, because there's another part in the story where math's the first class of my day. I'm not very good at it either. But anyways, she's like, I don't know how this guy got in this class. Let's put him back into normal math. That's basically what happened. And guess who fucking killed it again in normal math? This guy. So 8th grade rolls around, and they're like, we want to put him in advanced algebra, which I don't know if it was a good decision, quite frankly, because do I even need to tell you what happened next? I thought, so I didn't pay attention. Once again, I'm a worthless piece of gunk. I thought 2x plus 3y would make 5xy. And I did that all on a whole entire test that we took because I just never bothered to pay attention or do my homework. And my parents are at this point, they're through the roof on me ending up on these smart classes, but slowly after getting kicked out of them because I turned out to be a false prophet. No, I'm kidding. So my mom's like, all right, this is how it's going to be, young man. Every day after school, she had talked with my teacher. You're going to sit there, you're going to do your homework, and if you have any questions, you're going to ask the teacher for help. And so I'm like, fine. So, because I don't know what I was about to say. So that's exactly what happened. I'd sit down at school, and I would do my homework, and I would never ask the teacher any questions. Don't know why I did. I remember, so I think part of the reason why is because the teacher had also said, I don't know what this kid's doing in this class, he doesn't know what he's doing, type thing. And to put me into pre-algebra, basically, because I didn't know my stuff. So I was already kind of like nervous to go speak to this guy. So I just stick to my book, learned how to do algebra. And to be honest, algebra, it's not a hard concept. I just didn't pay attention in class. But I wasn't allowed to leave until I got my homework done. So I stuck with it. Got the homework done, and guess what? I ended up getting, I think, a B+ on the next test. There's like 5 tests, because this is like a year-long test, a class. Maybe even more than 5 tests. But I was able to get A's on the rest of the test, and I actually think I ended up getting like a B+ or an A in algebra honors. And they're like, woohoo, again! Oh, Jonathan, you're number 1. I'm like, at this point, I'm sick of it. I'm like, guys, I know I'm not very, like, when you think about it, even if I did have to pay, I think I kind of paid attention to class. I'm not saying I just zoned out the whole time. If you think about it, algebra took me all that time and extra just to do well in. Like, it's not like most students, they go to class, then they just do their homework, and that's all they need. I had to sit extra to be able to like actually do well in this class. Like, on top of doing homework, I was reading the textbook and whatnot. That's a good student thing to do now in college, but like middle school and elementary, high school, there's so many people that just don't even need to read the textbook to do well. So I wasn't quite one of those guys yet. So I moved to middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. Education system's probably not that great here either. And they run this block scheduling, so it's like you take 4 classes, and then the semester ends, and you take another 4 classes. And this let me get ahead in math a little bit. So I was able to take geometry honors the first semester. Got an A in that because geometry, let's be honest, you're easy. You're just shapes, angles, and whatnot. And then the next semester, I took Algebra 2 honors. And this was like a weird time for me. So high school was the first moment where I became an AB student. Before, like in middle school, I missed this, but there was a guy that actually came to check on me in one of my classes to make sure I was filling out my planner, which is basically like your schedule for like homework and stuff, and making sure I was doing stuff, because I was doing so poorly that they felt the need to assign somebody to me. Oh, it's quite embarrassing indeed. But so, and then in freshman year, I became like, the only B I had was in French and in English, and then the other 6 classes I took all A's, which included like honors science class, honors/advanced. It's the same thing. And then honors geometry. So my parents, once again, they're proud of me and stuff. They're like, "Oh, you're doing us proud," type thing. I'm totally stealing quotes now. That's a Joffrey the dumbass. Jeffrey the dumbass on HeadGum. He says, "I'm doing my dad proud." He says that at one point. But anywho, Oh yeah, Algebra 2 honors. I remember I was doing so well in that class that the teacher couldn't curve the grade. Like, you can't curve the grade when the highest grade's already 100%. So I ended up getting like 103% of that class. And so I was also on football, and I was actually terrified for my life because most of the kids in my class were like varsity or JV football players, and I was just a freshman. And they had pretty bad hazing there. So I think if I didn't move, I might be dead right now because a few of those guys did not like me. My algebra teacher, she would honor me in front of the whole class because that's just what she did. And I'd be like, please don't. Like, these guys are going to kill me type thing, which probably would have happened because I've heard. No, okay, I wasn't really going to get killed, but like, the hazing on that football team was pretty bad. Luckily, I missed it being a freshman that year. Anyways, irregardless. So they go, oh, you're a top-notch student once again. And then I get to move back to Virginia, the top-tier area. And they're like, all right, you're in advanced or honors, whatever it's called, pre-calc and trig. And I start failing. I think I ended up with a D+ that first semester, which isn't good enough to move on to the next class. Like, I think you have to retake it again. Like, absolute just garbage. The teacher was like, why is he in this class? He doesn't know what he's doing. And I think it's, okay, so the way this class that I took, it didn't really seem like it was a pre-calculus class. It seemed more like it was the first part of Calc 1, like complete course on the first semester of Calculus 1 with trigonometry. Because we ended up, okay, so basically first semester it was like, it was like trigonometry mostly. And I ended up failing that. Don't worry, guys. I know my trig table now. It's not that hard. The class was in the morning. It was like so early. That's why I failed. I swear to God. That's why I failed that semester. But then the next semester, they ended up teaching us like derivatives, which I found out that's not an actual pre-calculus topic. Derivatives, definition of derivatives, all those tricks and goodie bags. So I finished with a C, and I got to move again. All right, sorry, I had to get a quick breather. When you talk for so long, it's kind of difficult, and I'm not trying to rant so much. I spent so much on the more meaningless part of my life that now I'm just trying to power out this second half, and I really shouldn't do that so much. I should probably emphasize it a little bit more. So all right. So basically, what happened is we're gonna go back to honors pre-calc with trig. So luckily for me, for some reason, limits, other stuff you guys might not know of because it's useless information unless you actually did something in like the STEM area. So I'm just going to say limits, derivatives, that kind of stuff. That was like all second semester stuff. I think either get a B or an A to where my grade in the class was actually a C+ or something. So I'm like, that's not terrible. That's okay enough. I get to move on to the next class. And so I end up moving again to, I move a lot. I'm probably going to do a whole episode on just moving. But I'm in this state of Nebraska, and they just went ahead and put me in honors calculus because the pre-calc I took actually, like I said, already covered a lot of calculus. So they're like, okay, we'll just put them in calculus 1 honors, which was actually the highest class that they have at my school, the high school I graduated from. After that, you just can self-study calculus 2, which is what I ended up doing, but I'll get to that. And this is where it got really fun. So I didn't really tell my other classmates that I already knew this stuff. I kind of wanted that to be my little secret. Especially since Calculus 1, it starts off with the things I was good at the semester before. So I'm like, I'm going to make a killing off this and pretend I'm God for once. Because no matter where I go, besides that one Algebra 2 class, I've never been like the smartest guy. Even in the normal classes, I haven't like stood out as a smart guy. So I'm like, I'm going to do it. I don't care if this is an illusion. I'm just going to pretend like I'm just great at this stuff, which is true. However, I made a slip up. So first half of calculus, I already know. So when you find a derivative, that this is one of those topics I was good at, because there's two ways to solve for a derivative. So there's a method that's called finding the definition of derivative, and then there's like the tricks. So like there's like tricks that you can use. So basically when teachers first show students derivatives, they always make you do the definition of derivative first, because if you learn the tricks, there's no way you're going to go back, because you can put in so much work to find the derivative of something using the definition, and then it'll take like 2 seconds with the easy way. So they really capitalize on making you suffer before they give you the tricks. And so I remember there being a test, the first test before she showed the tricks, before she revealed it. Excuse me. And I thought I was clever. I'm like, oh, Mrs. Teacher Lady, you fool. You didn't specify that I had to use the definition of the derivative to find the derivative. And so I filled out that test really quickly of just doing the tricks. So I'm not going to do example. There's no point, because I'd probably need pencil and paper, and I would have to remember the definition of derivative. But like it would make so here's a small math thing. Will take no effort for me to explain this to you, but like x squared, like the trick is just to move the exponent in front of the x and then reduce the exponent by 1. So the derivative of x squared would become 2x and x would be to the 1 power instead of the 2 power. If that makes sense, hopefully it does. And instead of having that take like a quarter of a page of paper to solve, it's like lickety snap. So I'm just doing that test. I'm streamlining it. I'm like, oh, the derivative of sine, cosine, doy. I'm not going to do that whole definition crap if I already know it. And the teacher catches me because I turn in my test way too fast. And she's like, well, Jonathan, you didn't do the definition. I'm not going to accept this. I'm like, what? And my cleverness completely failed. I ended up having to finish, I had to go back to my desk, and I had so much lost time. I probably had, I don't remember how much time I had left to finish the test, but I basically had to redo all those problems I did with the cheat way. And I don't know if I even finished it on time. But I'm still able to get an A on that test, I think. And so basically my grade stood for that first semester of that class. It was an A, and I think the second part where it's like integration, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to bore you folks with math. I'm already telling these boring tales about how I'm so good at everything. Just kidding. Even though I don't see why anyone would want to listen to this, but I thought, hey, I'll record it and talk. I'll tell my tale, and maybe one of these days my tales will actually have some entertainment value. With practice comes improvement type stuff. So even if this isn't good, I'm going to post it, even if it's boring. But anyways, so I think I finished that class with an A- or B+. I don't remember. And I get to be a teacher assistant for Calculus 1 honors the senior year. And guess what, babes? Guess what? At that moment, your homeboy became the smartest math student in the whole school, because, well, besides 2 people. So there's only 3 of us in my honors calculus class in that whole school that were juniors at the time. So when senior year came, we were the only people that had already taken that class, which at the time was the most difficult. And let me just rewind by saying that a lot of schools, that isn't the case. I know, because the school I was going to, you were supposed to be able to take Calculus 2 by junior year, which would mean you could take a number of different classes senior year. It was set up for a higher pace. And I know there's some kids that are taking like Calc 1 as a freshman. Like, sue me. I'm sorry. At this particular school, I was the stud cake. My ego went through the roof when it came to math and science classes, to where I thought, hey, let's take AP Physics at the same time as taking AP Chem. I felt like an overall superstar because I took normal chemistry and I got like 102 in the class because I did like the bonus homework for some reason. I didn't need to. It was like over moles. I did anyways. So I just did ego boost because, hey, this is the first time in my life that I've actually done things to where people don't think I'm a moron. And then I took advanced physics, and I did really well in that. So I took AP Physics and AP Chemistry at the same time. Now, a lot of the things you learn in Calculus 1 you can use for physics, like you can use... So basically, when you think physics, part of it's like, if you throw a ball, when will it hit the ground? Well, since I already took calculus, I knew that. Okay, so I'm not going to explain the position function, velocity function, acceleration function. I'm just saying that so if you guys are aware of those things, you know what I'm talking about. But I already knew that I could just take the derivative of things to find the velocity, and then the derivative of that to find acceleration, blah, blah, blah. Just, it's all jargon that doesn't matter anymore in my life. I mean, it kind of does, but not really. So I was able to be a stud at that, but AP Chemistry, I just completely killed me. There isn't a cool story behind it. I'm sorry. I remember, though, while taking the class, that I just decided I wasn't going to take the AP test because I was doing so poor. So it was so hard. It was a hard class, especially when you didn't do the homework or study, or you didn't do the labs or the pre-labs and whatnot. Like, it was like basically a full-fledged chemistry class for college students, which I'm not used to. I'm used to just doing like half-ass in it, like the high schooler I am. But yeah, it was something that I should have paid more attention to, because lo and behold, that next year I went off to college. First semester, hit it out of the park. I was able to get in Calculus 2 an A first try, partly because I had already learned some of the stuff when I was TAing Calc 1. But that next semester, flunked it, just failed almost all my classes except for one. And I'm not going to get into this whole college thing because I'm in the middle of it. It's too soon. But let's just say I was able to get a scholarship that I'm like fearing that I'm going to lose. I think I've already said that. I'm pretty sure I basically did, because as I'm speaking right now, I'm only taking 2 of the 5 classes I signed up for. 2 of which I'm failing because I intended to withdraw from them to get a W as my grade. But I missed the deadline by a week, so I just like, F it, I'm failing. One of them I did withdraw from. One I just finished taking altogether, and the other one I may or may not fail, mostly because I haven't finished doing the work for it. So if you thought this all this was up to this point was a brag story, you're wrong, kind of. Because right now, at this moment, I am such an academic failure that words just cannot describe. Yeah, like, no matter what I do for my major, like, even before I screwed up this semester of college, like, I was going to be a year behind to where I was going to graduate in 5 years instead of 4, because I dropped out of one class last semester when my son was born. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I can take this later. I'm going to lose my scholarship if my GPA doesn't stay at a certain point, so I'm going to just drop it. And at this point, I wish I would have kept it, passed it, and then lost my scholarship, because now... So that's basically, that class was only offered in the spring. And now it's the fall, and I still couldn't take it, which means I can't take it. Because it's a engineering specific class towards my major, so there's only so many they only have one class for it because they only need one class for it for how many students they have in my program. So I wasn't able to take 2 classes that I was supposed to this semester. And it's all a bunch of just my fault. Like, I screwed it up. But, so now I'm back to that part of my life where I'm an idiot. Truly, I am such an idiot. And even if I wasn't doing so bad in these classes, compared to my classmates, I still feel like an idiot. Like, even when I passed the classes with, like, a B, I felt like a moron compared to my peers. Yeah. I think it was kind of an arrogant move that I had a huge ego senior year. I think I know why. I haven't thought about it enough to discuss it on the podcast. But that ego made me shoot really high college-wise. And now I just game over, dude. But I think I'm done talking. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry if this isn't the kind of thing you want to listen to. I'm just practicing my voice, making sure I don't speak every sentences with an like I did this another recording I have. Oh, I really hope I didn't do that, because then I might have to start this over. I think I've recorded for like 50 minutes. As I'm doing it, I start please leave any feedback you have at my email address. I totally spoke about that, but if you missed it, it's enduplikemepodcast@gmail.com. I would love feedback. If you have ideas for ways to make my stories more interesting, I'd take them. At this point, I'm recording these because if I stop recording them, then I'll never continue to do it. So as long as I'm recording something, I'm 1, improving my ability to podcast. 2, I'm continuing the podcast without forgetting about it for the rest of my life. And 3, sometimes it's nice. It's kind of like a confessional to where I'm like confessing things. On the negative side, it gets you thinking about your life. It's actually, I would recommend it for anybody to start recording themselves so that they know how they feel about things. But that's about it. I'm not stupid, I swear. I'm average. I'm average. Give me that. Sorry. Check out my next episode when it comes out. Bye.